Wherever you are, we would like to welcome you to Let's Talk with Pastor Ngwaru Show. On this particular show, we address various topics and subject areas. We touch on marriage, on family, we touch on young people, we touch on retirement, on business, leadership, development, religion, and spirituality. Hey, this is like your one-stop shop for family and life development. And for tonight, we have a very interesting topic tonight, and it says arguments that build or destroy relationships. I don't know if there is a human being out there who does not argue, or who has never argued, or possibly who is not a victim to someone who is argumentative and what have you. And tonight, we really want to face the bull, as it were, and discuss this topic, possibly that is causing a lot of heartaches and headaches in relationships, in marriage, in single parenting homes, at work, and what have you. And as usual, we are going to allow you as the viewers to send in your comments as you normally do. We may not be able to read all the comments, but nonetheless, please put them there. It's very important to communicate your ideas to other viewers so that they can get to know your thinking. We also welcome your questions. We welcome your questions. Make sure that you post your questions, and my panelists are going to be addressing them. Tonight, I've got a pastor and an educationist, and I also have an educationist and administrator in that area. And I also have a life coach, somebody who does relationship coaching and what have you, and they're going to self-introduce. I have Pastor Mapumulo there, and then I've got Brother Ravengani Mashudu Ravengani. He's an international personality who goes around the world speaking on various platforms. And we also have Catherine Jekwa, who is an educational administrator, as it were. But I would like to give them each just a few seconds to say something about themselves and what they do in life. Maybe Pastor Mapumulo out there. Who is Pastor Mapumulo and what you do?
Thank you very much, Pastor Ngwaru, for the invitation. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. Very interesting topic indeed. I am based here in Pretoria. I work for the Seventh-day Adventist Church as a director of education. Our regional offices are based in Johannesburg. So we are what is called a conference. We do God's work in different capacities, but my responsibility is twofold. One, I'm an education director, so which means I'm responsible for the schools. Adventist schools all over the world, and so we are no exceptions here in South Africa, and particularly in Johannesburg.
Okay.
I'm also a health director, so every Friday evening at 7 we have a program that we run there entitled Your Health Matters. That's where we discuss health and spirituality. So thank you very much. I'm ready for this conversation.
I'm happy you are ready, and I'm happy you are here. You could accept our invitation. Catherine Njekwa, please, who are you and where are you and what do you do?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pastor Ngwaru, for the invitation. I really appreciate that you could allow me to come and speak to the viewers. My name is Catherine Kabutu Njekwa. I am the Education Director at the Southern Africa Union Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And Southern Africa Union Conference is actually the regional headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in South Africa, based in Bloemfontein. and it's composed of 4 countries, that is Namibia, Lesotho, Swaziland, and South Africa. And in all these countries, we have schools. In total, we have 34 schools and 2 higher educational institutions. And out of these 34 schools, we have 7 high schools, and the rest of them are primary schools. And these are actually scattered, they're everywhere. Like Pastor Jabu has said, he's actually my colleague. There are schools everywhere in Johannesburg, in Cape Town, in Butterworth, Eastern Cape of South Africa, in Lesotho, in Namibia, in Swaziland. There are 4 schools. So if you want an Adventist educational institution, you will find them in all these countries. Thank you very much, Pastor, for the opportunity.
No, thanks, Catherine. It's good to know that we have a leader of, is it 4 countries?
Yes, Pastor. Including St. Helena, it can be 5. St. Helena.
Yes, and you are responsible for education. And then Pastor Mapumulo is responsible for education, especially in the Gauteng region and some neighboring provinces next to Johannesburg. And we are happy that we can have 2 educational practitioners tonight, and you'll be the ones to help us understand exactly the subject that is before us. Without wasting much time, remember, our topic is saying arguments that build and the arguments that destroy relationships. And before we go to either building or destroying, I'm sure there are quite a number of viewers out there who are dying to know what exactly is an argument. When we say argument, what are we talking about?
Well, Pastor, firstly, if you look at the word itself, argument,
yes,
from different perspective, you get a different understanding from the usual one. For example, with Latin, the word argument means to make clear. So in other words,
better.
So in other words, when the word argument suggests that there is clarity that needs to be made. All right. So it does not necessarily mean the word argument is bad or it's good. The participants can make it either way. All right. Now, very interestingly, also the French say argument means the process of reasoning, and I like that. The process of reasoning.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yes. So when we talk about argument, therefore, the French would say, no. This is just a process of reasoning. We're reasoning over a particular thing. Well, the English would then say, when you talk about argument, you're talking about an engagement or an exchange of opposing views. Let me leave it there for now.
I want to be honest, Pastor. You did a good job for me there. Where I'm looking at, from the Italian point of view, you are saying it's a process of making things clear.
Yes.
And then from the French point of view, we are engaging into reasoning. We are reasoning issues out.
Yes.
So we are participating in the reasoning.
Yes.
And then you are saying with the British, we are kind of exchanging opposing views.
Correct.
Did I get you right?
You are 100%, Pastor. 100%.
You give me an A for that, isn't it?
A+.
Question, come there. Let's hear you.
Pastor, when we talk about argument, in the context of our discussion today, an argument is an exchange of differing or opposing views. Yes. And the word argument is normally associated with disagreement between 2 or more people. But on the other hand, as already explained by Pastor Jabu, on the other hand, an argument can be a statement that is backed by evidence. For instance, an argument that one worships on the Sabbath because the Bible says that you must rest on the Sabbath and worship the Lord.
Then you need to prove it out.
That is an argument because it is based on evidence. But in the context of our discussion today, an argument, we could take it that it's an exchange of differing or opposing views.
I think you are more or less British yourself. I can hear a lot of British in what you have said, based on what Pastor Mapomulo has just told us. And this is not to say it's bad. And I really appreciate the fact that we are engaging into differences and we are negotiating our differences, hoping that at the end of the day, we may be of the same mindset, of same opinion. I don't know. We are going to find out in this discussion. Relationship coach there, Mashudu. These guys are coming from an education background. You are coming from a relationships background. When we say people are arguing in your world, are they exchanging views? Are they reasoning? What are they doing?
If we come from different backgrounds, different personalities, different upbringing, sometimes different cultures, we always have different views, even of the same issue that we might be engaging. So when we come into issue of arguments, there might be an idea that you want to support. So those will be reasons that you give towards an idea, or an action that you want to take, or you have taken. So you are having supportive reasons for that action. And sometimes it's just a theory that you are having, that you are proposing. So you give those as supportive arguments.
Okay, our international evangelist keeps coming and keeps going. His connectivity is having a challenge. Let me go back to Catherine and
now that often.
We keep missing you, Mashudu. Okay, that's fine. Let's go to Jabu and Catherine there. You are giving me an idea where arguments seems to suggest something very smooth, something very clean. It's a very good process where people are exchanging differing views, and where people are reasoning out and they're engaging themselves. Is there no time when people are just trading foolishness and madness?
Yeah, well, that opportunity is always there. The life of an argument is dependent on one's participation.
Yes,
you know. So the quality of exchange of ideas will determine whether this exchange is going to be positive or negative.
Yes.
So it's going to depend on people. How mature are they in exchanging the views of what in making clear of what seems to be unclear between these two people.
Okay, no, that's fine. Now, let me also ask something very, very important as we negotiate ourselves into the topic. The issue of arguing, you suggested arguing is neutral, but it is the application, how we use it, that may be problematic. But do relationships suggest how the process of arguing may go? Maybe if we've got a boss and a subordinate in the office, we have a parent and a child, we have a husband and a wife. Do these things influence the process of arguments, or it does not matter? Catherine, what do you think?
Pastor, I think it does matter. It really matters because I should think that no one enjoys being involved in an argument. And it's not a pleasant thing. And I suppose that if it were possible, we could wish that for a relationship that is argument-free. Unfortunately, arguments are sometimes inevitable in life. And well, like you said in the beginning, I think you mentioned to say that you've never heard of anyone who says that they've never had an argument in a relationship or in a workplace. And it is a very difficult thing to suppress one's emotions just because one wants to avoid an argument. It is not even healthy for one to avoid their anger because one can explode and say or do things that may be regrettable. And however, Pastor, I think that there is a way of avoiding arguments or getting arguments under control.
Before we get there, very good. Before we get there, my actual point, maybe let me be very clear here. I'm basically saying culturally, socially, religiously, is it allowed for a child to argue with a parent? Is it allowed for a wife to argue with the husband? Is it allowed for a subordinate, an employee to argue with a manager? You know, these imbalances in terms of power. Should you argue if you are possibly the lesser one in terms of authority?
Yes, definitely. At all times, at whatever level, in whatever environment, you need to argue, but the thing is, your argument must not come out disrespectful of the person you are arguing with.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yes, because and for this, look at even the Bible sets this, gives us this impression that there is a possibility that in all these situations that we are making, that there will be foolish or stupid arguments. There is always that danger, that possibility. For example, if you look at the book of is it 2 Timothy chapter 2, now the Bible says that don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments.
Okay.
Because you know they produce quarrels right there. I think for me, the Bible does. In other words, it warns us that there's a possibility that such will happen.
Okay. No, that's it. Mashudu there. Catherine was saying that arguments are inevitable. Can we say the happiest of families can still have arguments? The best couple on earth can still have arguments. The best boss-employee relationship can still have arguments, or arguments are reflective of a bad relationship. What's your take on that?
No, I will say that I think, as has already been said, it is unavoidable, the idea of having different opinions and different ideas. And I think the challenge is how to express that. Our different opinions. It's not that we cannot have them, because you see, in a relationship, if you sweep everything under a carpet, there will be a mountain in the living room. So it is therefore important that people express their differences. One example that I always give is, I think the pastor has already touched on that. You might have heard people say, with due respect. Obviously, every time they say that, they are about to disrespect you. But if you're going to use due respect in its proper order, assume I, as Mashudu, has been invited to serve in a committee by the president of the country. And while I'm sitting there where he's chairing, he says something. I can say, Mr. President, what you said, it's nonsense. It will never work.
Yeah.
And he probably will kick me out of that committee because of what I've said. But I can say the same thing. I can say he's talking nonsense in such a way that he nods his head. So I can say to him, Mr. President, what you're suggesting has been tried in India with catastrophic results, and the same was tried in Brazil, and it's not advisable. So I've just told him that he was talking nonsense, but in a way that he feels good about it. So it is not just the argument, is a manner on which we present those arguments.
Okay. Now, having said that, now let's get into arguments that are constructive, that build the relationships, and arguments that destroy relationship. I've been doing a bit of calculation here. Maybe let's begin with the negative, and then end with the positive. When people are arguing negatively to the detriment of their marriage, of the parent-child relationship, of the boss-employee relationship, how is argument being taken? How is it being expressed to a point where it at the end of the day, there's no winner? It has just destroyed the relationship, regardless of how many minutes and how many hours people have taken exchanging their views. I don't know. We could start with Jabu there. Maybe one example of a negative way of expressing an argument.
Well, for if there is a conversation between two or more people, someone says something and the other one responds by saying, well, I hear what you are saying, but let me share some wisdom on this thing. What are you trying to tell me?
You're already telling me I'm foolish, huh?
Exactly. That's quite disrespectful, because by virtue of saying, well, I hear what you're saying, but let me share some wisdom. So you're saying I've been foolish in my expression. That could be downright wrong. The other one could be a gesture. So if we are talking and I pointed to, that's very disrespectful. Even before you say anything. So there are quite a number of things. If, for example, you are in a workplace and you say to your boss that you are used to call a manager, whatever that title is, and all of a sudden you say, you see, Jabu, this thing that you are saying, right there. This conversation is deteriorating now. It's taking a wrong turn.
Yes. Now, listen. I'm sure we have all been married at one time or another, or we are still married, and what have you. I know that Catherine is a single parent. Is that okay, Catherine? No. That's fine. Everybody here. Catherine, don't report me to your husband, please. Don't report me to your husband.
That's Revelation 23.
Pastor, I wanted to add on to what Pastor Jabu was saying with regard to arguments that are destructive.
Yes.
Criticism is one other aspect that can have devastating effects because it makes the victim feel assaulted.
What do you mean criticism?
Criticism. There's a difference between criticism and voicing a complaint. For instance, say your partner throws his shoes or his clothes and towels on the floor instead of packing them properly in the wardrobe or putting them in the washing basket. If you attack the partner by saying you are lazy or you never clean up after yourself, that is criticism. And if instead you say, I would appreciate it if you put your clothes in the washing basket, that is voicing a complaint. So if you criticize your partner, more especially in front of people, that is even worse. It's demeaning, and a simple issue that could have been a conversation may turn into a big argument that cannot even be resolved. So that is one issue that can contribute to destructive argument.
I want to express my I don't know whether it's an argument or what, basically to what you both have said, and I'm sure Mashudu passed through there and whatever. You seem to be coming from a very ideal world, the three of you, where people express themselves nicely and what have you. Now, tell me, I don't know whether I should say in the real world. I'm not demeaning what you are saying. Let me say in the real world, we have heard wives saying to their husband, look, that's a stupid idea. I will not go by that. Yeah. And you have heard the husband says, hey man, you are reasoning like a kid. Stop, you are kidding. Why don't you reason? Can you apply your thoughts into this and what have you? Is this a reason for arguing? Now that somebody has brought you law, has disrespected you, so the kick for you to fight back, then you must also argue. What are you saying? Are you saying disrespect is a reason for arguments? Is it with everybody or with some people?
Look at the other reason for disrespect or for having a negative argument.
Yes.
It could be because of the temperament of a person.
Yes.
This person could be choleric, as an example, and yes. And by nature, when he or she feels different about an issue, he becomes combative.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, what is a choleric? Some people don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. A choleric is someone who is stubborn, who is overly impulsive, highly emotional, and sometimes he uses emotion more than his brains to think or to act. Yes. Yes. So there are people like that who do not think before they act or before they say something. So that temperament alone can be a source of a negative or bad argument right there from the beginning. So therefore I'm saying, if a person knows that, you know what, I am a very combative person.
Yes.
So as and when you feel that you are insulted or demeaned or whatever negative feeling you are getting,
yes,
you need to find a way how to deal with that situation, because you can't be all the time throwing bombs and hoping that they'll be thereafter. It doesn't work like that. And these things, they happen in a lot in marital environment, because look, we are not angels. We are waiting for transformation. Well, right now we are not there. We are in the process.
Okay, Mashudu, do you want to come in there? What's your addition to?
I think it is important for us to realize that speaking, it's a physical ability, and communicating, it's a science, it's an art that people must learn.
Yes,
that people must learn. And coming to the issue of an argument, there is what we call assertive communication and aggressive communication.
Yes.
So aggressive communication is what leads to negative arguments. In aggressive communication, this is where you use you messages. You are like this, you are stubborn, you are cruel, you are mean. Such words are blaming, judging, condemning. It's what we also call playing the man instead of playing the ball.
Okay.
So when your arguments deteriorate, and a simple issue, if I'm going to give an illustration, I can say you are cruel or you're mean, or I can play the ball. The ball is that I feel that your words are mean.
Yeah.
It's your words.
Mm-hmm.
The words are the ball that hit me. Because when I say you are cruel, you're mean, I'm judging you. So the discussion changes from what the real issue is to me defending myself. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm cruel? What do you mean that I am mean? And then what about you? So it becomes counter, and the ball remains between us, not being played while we are playing each other. So those are the negative arguments. So negative arguments deteriorate into us. And if you think about it in a relationship, the two of us are supposed to be colleagues, they're supposed to be married couple, are supposed to be parent and the child. So we are walking together into a particular direction. But it is the ball that is hitting between the two of us. But many a times, this deteriorate even sometimes to the end of the relationship is because you are like that, instead of realizing that we need to change from the aggressive into the assertive mode, which is what is done when we are talking about constructive arguments.
No, we'll get to
and we can expand on that when you come to issues of constructive arguments.
Right. Let me.
Pastor?
Yes, Catherine?
Sorry, just to add on to what my colleagues have said, I want to go back to the question that you asked with regard to the words that you use when you're talking to your husband, as to whether you can use words like being silly or something like that. But I think that it depends on the culture.
Yes.
It depends on the culture. For instance, for people from the Western world, it's okay for them to tell the other person to say, don't be silly, you're being silly. That is okay for them.
When
we talk about culture, I'm talking about that. And even the children, they can't even tell the parents to say, don't be silly. It also depends on the person that you are speaking to. You need to know the type of personality that person that you're speaking to has. For instance, if you're speaking to a person who is very sensitive, of course, you should be sensible enough to be able to know how to speak to that type of a person. It also depends on the type of relationship. If you have a funny relationship where you make jokes all the time and you understand each other, then you can use those words. I think it depends on the relationship. It depends on the culture. It depends on the type of person that you are speaking to. Coming back again to the destructive responses or destructive arguments. Arguments that focus on personal attacks. Shudu spoke about speaking about you did this.
You are like this.
Yes, personal attacks are very destructive. For instance, if you have been with your partner for a long enough, you would probably be aware about things that would be very hurtful if you had to mention them during an argument. There are things that you can say and things that you cannot say. For example, if you know that your partner suffers from anxiety, you can't tell your partner to say that you are just always a ball of fear. Those things that attack a person personally, those things can be very hurtful and those can be very destructive.
Right. I think so far in the discussion, I can pick out two very strong points, if not three, on the destructive argumentative approach. And number one, that is when somebody feels disrespected in a discussion, and people may have a tendency of leaving the subject matter and then it deal with the issue of respect itself. And sometimes it may take forever, so that you have packed what needs to be discussed, and now you are now discussing the whole issue of, but you don't speak to me like that. Why shouldn't I speak to you like that? So the issue of respect, if respect is not well looked into, we can have a challenge in the manner in which we are engaging each other. And then, of course, the other point that I got is the whole question of to feel personally attacked, demeaned, so that it's my personhood which is under attack, not the subject matter. Maybe we could be discussing family finance, maybe we are discussing holiday, or maybe we are discussing whatever issue it may be, but it boils down to we end up attacking each other instead of attacking the challenge that we have. And then I liked another point that you, Catherine, brought up of sometimes arguments are bad, especially when they are not culturally sensitive. Within your culture, there are certain words that we do not speak to adults, that we don't speak to husbands, that we don't speak to wives, or that we don't speak to our loved ones. So these are the kind of three pillars I have picked: disrespect, personal attack, and cultural insensitivity. Is there another aspect to add to the three that can actually destroy relationships? Anyone there? Mashudu, can you come through, please? Any other, apart from personal attack, disrespect, and cultural insensitivity, or what else can come into the picture and people can get worried so much about how somebody is expressing themselves?
Okay, is he, Mashudu, is he there?
No, you can go ahead, Jabu.
Look,
okay.
I think if there is an issue when there is an issue on the table,
yes,
and then all of a sudden someone pulls into the table an issue of the past,
yes,
not related to this issue.
Yes,
maybe it was resolved some time ago, and all of a sudden it comes in through the back door. Now that is the recipe for disaster. Yes. So if the matter was resolved, the question is, why are we linking the past matter to the present one?
To the present one, yeah.
Correct. Because it gives impression, therefore, that so someone was not truthful in the past on this issue to say it's done and dusted, we're moving on. So that on its own is a recipe for a very negative argument that will make it difficult even to resolve the present issue.
So, okay, I'm busy adding to my pillars. Like I said, I've got three pillars right now: personal attack, disrespect, cultural insensitivity. And now the fourth element that you are adding there, Jabu, is when we keep dragging issues of the past into the current scenario, we are not headed anywhere.
No,
we remain stuck in the past. It's like we are not making headways. I hear you, Catherine. You want to say something?
Pastor, I wanted to say that in a relationship, one should learn to compromise at times. Sometimes we are more focused on winning or being right rather than losing. So rather than working through the issue can contribute to actually a destructive argument. The thing is, if you want to win, you will be more focused on building your case instead of listening to the other person. So in that way, you will not be able to understand even the explanation that is being given by the other person. Hence, the argument or the problem or the challenge that you're trying to sort out may not even be resolved because you're not listening to the other person.
Hey, that's a big one. So we have an issue of people are bent to want to win. You are engaging in this not to lose, but to win. And then you build your case around winning. So you will not rest until you have won. And we don't seem to go anywhere. Mashudu, the thing is, what are you trying to say there?
I think one thing to add on what has been said is that if you look at a typical argument, two people talking to arguing with each other.
Yes.
The other one is not listening to the other one. Each time when the other one is talking, the other one is planning their next statement. And their next statement is a repeat or rehash of what they've said before, because they also know that what they said before, the other one was not listening. So it becomes an endless cycle of everybody rephrasing what they have said before, because they know none of them is listening. I also wanted to add one more thing, which is the manner in which you communicate. So when you raise your voice, when you're talking to someone, argument, it is a form of belittling the other person. So the idea of shouting, when two people are talking, has a way of changing the tone of the engagement, because how I summarize raising the voice or shouting is that I'm failing to convince you with the arguments. I'm going to threaten you with my voice. So that the tone of my voice threaten you into silence, because I'm losing in terms of the argument. So it is one issue that is destructive in the very idea of coming. Now, I think it was Sister Catherine who also added the issue. There was a statement that says it's better to lose an argument and win a friend. And that's one of the things. But if you look into arguments, Fundisi, you will realize that many of the arguments that leaves people sad and unhappy, particularly in marriage, are over unimportant issues. Unimportant issues, smaller. So where two people are trying to outsmart each other, trying to show how much they know over the other one on issues that doesn't matter. So somebody asked, they say, Wits University has got the agriculture department. The other one says there is no agriculture. They shout at each other backward and forward. But who cares if Wits has got agriculture or not? It's not even your institution. I mean, what do you gain by winning that argument? I always say to couples, I mean, if you're already married, there is no point of proving you're smarter than you're smarter, because you're already married. If you are not smart, it's the fault of the other person who married you, when you're not smart enough. So there is no point to prove. You're already there. It's their problem if you're not smart. So if couples in particular can stop trying to outsmart each other, outknow each other, because they win nothing.
Now listen, guys, I don't know whether you have heard of this one or not. We have had a situation in marriages where you hear another spouse saying, we have always been doing things your way. So that like now, when we are making a decision, whether correct or right, we must do it your way. Next time we discuss an issue, we do it my way. Next time we discuss an issue, we do it your way. Is that possible?
Oh,
because you always want us to do things your way.
But you see, there is also an argument there, and I will tell you from a real life experience. I'm sitting with a couple, and they have got many arguments, and the young man is a lawyer, and he spent his whole day arguing, and he comes home, he wants to argue, and he's qualified to argue. That's what he does.
It works
for a living. Now, that's what he does. He's a specialist in arguing, and the wife doesn't want to argue, and the man says, "Please present your arguments. I mean, let's make this based on a logical argument." But he knows she will always lose because she's not a good debater. So in the face of that, she says, "We're gonna do it this way." But the guy says it doesn't make sense. But he says, yeah, otherwise it will always be your way. Because you have always better argument to justify anything.
Okay.
So you've got that kind of a situation where if marriage in particular is a contest of the best arguments, then the one who is a weaker debater will always lose. It is therefore the issue that you are raising, that marriage for a relationship to succeed, there must be give and take.
Yes.
So in reality, even though my arguments are not strong, even though I'm not able to articulate myself to that level of convincing you, we need to do it my way.
Right. Pastor Jabu, you are a pastor of congregants and what have you. And Catherine, you are an administrator of many students and teachers and what have you. Now, let's come to the whole issue of power. How is power used to kind of make arguments destructive?
Boss lady.
Yeah, Pastor.
The whole issue of, I don't know whether you understand what I'm talking about. A husband may come to the discussion table with, I am the head of the family, and therefore my argument is going to say you. And then you are at work, you may be a technical person yourself, and then you have an administrator then who tell you, look, it's going to be done this way, and they are using their office and their power to determine the outcome. Now I am saying, how does the whole issue of power complicate the argument process?
But Pastor, I think it takes back to the question that you asked initially, where you asked as to whether it is okay for children to argue with the parents. It is okay for a learner, for instance, that in a school to argue with the teacher. It takes us back to that, because it does happen actually where we have people who are in power who would love to take advantage of their authority and use it to argue and make all the decisions whereby the subordinates cannot even argue. But I don't think that it should be acceptable in a work environment or anywhere, even in a home. It shouldn't be acceptable. It does happen, but it shouldn't be acceptable, because as we already indicated, it doesn't mean that when a person is older than you, then you cannot argue with the person. You can argue with the person, but with respect, knowing that even when you are arguing with the person, you are still respecting that person. You are just putting your point in place, and you want the person to hear what you are saying, your point of view. And that is where we bring in the other definition of argument, where we said that argument can be used also as evidence of the statement that you are giving. So you can do that. So that is acceptable, but it's not acceptable for any person to be who is in authority to take advantage and use their power to make the other person feel inferior and not be able to respond back to whatever they are saying.
Yeah, I'll come back to that. I wanted to transition now to the other aspect, but before I do that, Jabu, you want to say something?
Yes, a quick one. You know, when Mahatma Gandhi says, when the power of love overrules the love of power, this world will experience peace.
Yes.
Now, you see, and that thought is applicable also in a home environment.
Yes.
When a person begins to say in his argument to emphasize the power that he has, then you know that this person, there's something wrong with this person.
Yes.
Sometimes we talk about, well, we've been doing it your way, Now this time we're going to do it my way. And sometimes that is a sign that says there are no rules of engagement in this relationship.
Okay.
Whether it's at home or it's in the workplace, there must be rules of engagement. That as and when there is an issue, this is how we're going to deal with issues. Let's agree, and we trash the processes. In the workplace, we have processes that when there's a problem, this is how we deal with it. Even in the home environment, similarly, it should be like that, so that we avoid reminding each other subtly or one way or the other that, look, I'm in charge here.
Yeah. All right. Let's now go to constructive arguments that build the relationship. We have taken quite a long time discussing the negative, and I think by default, human nature is bent towards the negative, and it takes quite a bit of effort to transition to the positive way of presenting arguments within a relationship. Let's look at if arguments are flowing nicely, the rules of engagement and exchange of differing opinions and whatever, if it is done so that at the end the relationship wins and everybody wins, how are they doing it? Do I go back to my shoot there?
Yes.
I think there is a number of dynamics that you need to consider when you look into when two people are talking to each other. It's not just what they say that is important. It's who they are that is important. I have spoken to couples and they said, we don't seem to get along. We can't communicate with one another. I said, you're communicating with me fine, so you can communicate, but the nature of who you are, the nature of your relationship has changed in such a way that you don't trust even the words. So even if I say I love you, even if it's a positive thing, I don't trust you because the nature of the relationship has deteriorated.
Yes.
Now, going back to also what Pastor Maphumulo has said, if somebody is convinced that you love me and you care about me, it makes it easier for them to even buy your ideas, because the underlying issue is that whatever you are saying or doing, it's probably for my good, because I know you love me and you care about me. It's not the issue of selfishness. So when there is a love environment, I always say that love is almost like an oil or a grease between two metals. When the love is there, there is smooth eating in our arguments. But if it is not there, there is spark that flies at every argument. So many times, instead of even talking about how to argue and how to do this differently, increase the love. It will smoothen many of the sparks that normally comes when there is no oil between the two of you, which is the love.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Anyone who wants to add there before I come in?
Just to add on, Pastor, arguing in a constructive manner is one of the hardest things. We ask ourselves because it entails self-control, being able to turn anger into a conversation as opposed to a fight is a very difficult task. And it actually, like I said, requires self-control. And the goal of constructive argument is to seek resolution or compromise, and not a winner or a loser, like we said in our discussion. And the objective in a family relationship or marital relationship is to settle the identified issue such that both parties can accept the solution, even though one may have to compromise the other in order to come up with the conclusion. I think that constructive arguments could be achieved where both parties are prepared to discuss about the matter. Don't ambush your friend. Rather, the situation where one ambushes a friend, the other takes advantage of a given situation to express their anger. Timing is very, very important. It would not be wise to bring up an issue when you are not prepared to listen to the explanation, because you are in a hurry, you are on your way to work, and the other leg is already in the car, and you bring in an issue. Why are you bringing an issue when you are prepared? You're not prepared to listen. The other leg is already in the car. Or when you're tired or when you're hungry, because it will not be effective. Because when the other person is trying to explain, you are already saying that, no, I have to leave, I have to leave. You are bringing an issue when you're not prepared to listen. And it may require the other person to have time, to have adequate time to explain nicely so that you can listen. So it requires timing, and it requires also being able to both parties being prepared for the discussion of the matter at hand.
Right. No, thanks, Catherine. I want to go to Jabu there, and maybe you can sum up what Mashudu and Catherine have said. Again, looking for pillars. Ravengani is telling us that when the environment espouses love, protects love, demonstrates care, arguments can be constructive. They are oiled. It may be easy to do that. And then when you go by Catherine, she is telling me the reason why we are having this exchange is because we are looking for a positive outcome. We are headed towards a resolution. So keep moving towards a resolution, no matter how you are arguing, for as long as you are working towards a resolution. Now, here is my problem. You are married, Jabu. Catherine, you are married. Now you are married, Catherine. And Mashudu is married. Now, let me, please forgive me for being very personal with ourselves, the four of us here.
Correct.
There are times when we are at a stalemate. You think that your position is 100% safe for the family. The other party feels their position is 100% safe for the family. Now you have a stalemate. You are trying, and Catherine, you are saying we need to compromise in order to come up with a resolution. Jabu, how do people then move from extreme points and be able to compromise? What system can be used in order to say, I think let's compromise? This one is a very big problem in the relationship, especially husbands and wives. What drives them to an amicable, mutual compromise without feeling like I am surrendering my position to the other person? I am making them a winner, and the other person also being in that position. It's nice to say compromise, but it's a nice word, but how can it be done? And Catherine, thank you very much for letting us know that it's easier to argue negatively than it is easy to argue positively. So, Jabu, there you are.
Well, look,
how do you compromise? In the heat of a stalemate, how do we move towards the center, both of us?
Look, Paul, I think Romans 12:18, Paul says, do all what you can to live in peace with everyone. Do all what you can. Yes. Now there is an implied statement there that says sometimes your efforts will fail. Yeah. Because we are fallen beings. And sometimes our arguments are just a fruit, not the root of the problem.
Yes.
So the root may be pride. Yeah. Not the argument, which is the fruit. So
okay.
So because if my mindset says I wanted to have peace in this relationship, at whatever cost. You know, for instance, Solomon says a gentle answer is the way to go. It brings peace. So so if I want peace at all cost, the only thing that will stand in my way is pride for me to do that. My submission is that, look, I think even in the time where there is no conflict, we ought to be going through a reflection moment on a regular basis and keep asking ourselves, how committed am I in this marriage?
Yes.
And I will obviously give myself 100%, and I must drill down there and says, all right, if it is 100%, how far am I willing to go to make sure that there is peace here? Because there are going to be moments that will not warn you that they are coming, and without you even thinking, that pride will come up to say, I must defend my position. And so sometimes, I think really sometimes our arguments fail because of our spirituality. There's a combination of factors here. There's not one side that fits all. It could be because I am religious, but I'm not spiritual. Because if Christ reigns on me, I should find it easy to say, you know what? I have spoken my piece. I believe that this is the revelation of God that I've expressed here. And therefore, I have no reason to fight for this. And I can leave it to the Lord. We can just say, you know what? Let's just pray over this thing. This is what I believe that God wants us to do. But if you say it different, look, I will respect that, because here's something else that sometimes we forget. You know, for this, in our conviction, we may be wrong.
Yes.
We may be wrong. Why? Because whenever you take a decision, it is on the basis of what you know at the time you take a decision.
Yeah.
So you use the information that you have, you make a decision. Now, after you have made a decision, there could be some other information that had not landed to your mind prior to you making that decision. That is why we must always be able to say, you know what, as far as I know, I'm convinced this is what the Lord has impressed upon me. If I am wrong, I'm leaving that room, because once you leave the room that you could be wrong, that's a path to peace.
Oh, okay. Let me complicate something for the three of you there.
Yes.
Because we are representing marriages across Africa, across the world, and different cultures. You know the story of David and Abigail, isn't it? Was it Abigail?
Yes.
And Abigail was married to this very proud fellow, rich man, and David needed help, and this man's arrogance took the better of him, and the family was kind of threatened. And I'm sure Abigail tried to reason out with the husband and discovered that, there is no way where we are going. I have to save the situation. Then Abigail engages with David and does what she did. And then at the end of the day, the family was saved. Now, are there lessons from this story, or is it just a Bible story? Is it possible that in a family, sometimes either the wife or the husband may have to stand up and say, the conclusion to this matter is, we are going to do this, and you give ultimatums, because this is the light that you have, maybe as the wife, as the husband, or whoever you are, or maybe as the boss. Is there a time when the best way to end the discussion, the argument, if we're in a stalemate, is somebody emerges and says, this is what is going to happen?
Here is my view.
Being practical here.
From the man's point of view, I always say that a man must sell his idea. He must sell his vision to the family or to the wife.
Yes.
And I was talking in a seminar one day in a charismatic church, and one guy stood up and he says, what if the wife does not buy it? What if she doesn't buy it?
Yes.
And that's when I was inspired to respond to him and say, he must lower the price. If she doesn't buy it, he must lower the price.
Well, people, now tell us exactly what you mean.
It's compromising. So she doesn't catch the whole vision. Compromise until she get to the level where she can see it. But I want to, because I suppose our time is running, but I want to say something from the woman point of view also. Women have asked me about issues of submission and the man leading, and my argument is this, that there are families where the wife is more intelligent than the man. It happens. So the fact that he is the head does not make him the most intelligent. You might find that he struggles in thinking and in analyzing things. Like a smart woman, exactly. So a smart woman goes to the husband and she goes and analyze the problems and analyze it and says, my husband, there is this problem. If we do this and this, this will happen. If we do this and this, this will happen. If we do this and this, this will happen. What do you think we must do? And then the man will say, we'll do this. He thinks he's making a decision, but the wife, who is smart, has made a decision to him. He just simplify it for his slow brain to be able to get it. So I always say to women, be smart about it. You don't have to push your foot down and say this will never happen, but break it down for a slow husband and give him the credit of thinking he's deciding, whereas you've decided for him by analyzing the problem.
Okay, that's I hear you. But can somebody be forthright? I'm saying, is it normal? Is it practical? Is it reasonable? Is there wisdom in one of the parties to then say, we have established,
oh, by the way,
what we are going to do is now this?
My answer was no to that one. And that's why I said you must sell, or you must also put wisdom into the men's head.
So to you, look, a no.
Yeah. No.
My answer is yes.
That's right. Right. How does it become a yes?
Look, if her view goes against God's principle, God revealed will, then we don't need to pray about this thing now. Because God has revealed this. This is where we are going now. Yes.
Now, Mapumulo, let me make it easy for you there. We have Black Friday coming. Black Friday, and things are being advertised. 90% reduced, 50% reduced. And then the husband says, we need to buy a 72-inch television for X amount of rands or dollars, whatever the case may be. And the wife feels like, we need to save money for school fees. January is coming, and whatever. And now they've got this fight. Which argument must win? Catherine?
I think, Pasangwaru, you've given a very good example. Even the example that you gave in the beginning with regard to Noble and Abigail. Abigail had to make the decision because that was the right decision. And she knew that by making that decision, she was going to save the whole family. I should think that there are times when one of the partners should make the decision on behalf of the whole family, even though they do not agree. There should be times like that.
Of that decision, isn't it?
Sorry?
And take responsibility of that decision.
Yes, definitely. Because you see, I want to refer you to even leadership. When it comes to leadership, most people say that in leadership, the best type of leadership is democratic type of leadership. But for me, I say that the best type of leadership is that it's all kinds of leadership types depending on the situation. It depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. Because you can be democratic. For instance, if something urgent happens, life-threatening situation where you are supposed to take a child to the hospital, say, for instance, at a school. I'm giving an example from the education type side of view. you're supposed to take a child to the hospital, and you say that no, because it's not yet time to go, because our institution allows us to make decisions as school management team. You can't wait for the others and make a decision together. You make the decision on your own immediately. There's no waiting. You can, it depends on the type of decision you're making. It depends on the situation. So there are times that one person can be responsible for making a decision. And I think there are times when one can do that.
And can we protect both parties? Like, for instance, in a marriage setup, a wife can feel inclined to make an ultimate decision at times, in as much as, depending with the situation, a husband may be entitled to that. Is this what I'm hearing from you?
Yes. You get a perfect example where you don't have money in the home and the husband is saying, let's go and buy a TV. When you know you are supposed to pay school fees, of course you say, no, we are not buying a TV. That's I wanted to say a silly decision.
You're going to be divorced now, I can tell you.
Please, I've got one or two quick questions, and just take a few seconds each to respond to this, because we want to wind up now. The first question is it bad to express anger in an argument? Does it make it destructive if my husband is caught in a compromising situation, or my wife is, or we are battling over something else, and I strongly feel that I'm being undermined, and then I discharge anger, and I may even do it respectively. I don't know how respectful can work with anger. Is it okay to express anger in a relationship, in an argument? And then the last question is, how do we help a family member, if the only family member in a family who is prone to negative arguments? How can the rest of the other family members work with you? Just answer any question of the two. Each one of you choose one question that you want to answer, and then we sum it up.
Pastor, maybe just to start with the last question that you asked with regard to how we can help a family member who is very argumentative.
Yes.
In fact, we do find people who are like that in almost every family. And I think the most important thing that we need to do is to understand why the person is argumentative in nature. We need to find out what are the contributory factors to that person's personality. Why is the person being argumentative? And there are a lot of factors that could contribute to that person's personality. Factors like the upbringing, the background of the person, and how the person was raised, and the kind of communication that they had in the family when the person was growing. Maybe the person was shouted at every time when they are growing up, and when they grow up, they think that is the way to talk. So you need to find out. And once you find out what is contributing to that person's personality or argumentative behavior, then you're able to put yourself in the shoes of that person. And that will help you to understand the person and be empathetic. And once you understand the person, then it becomes easy to understand the person and be able to discuss with the person in the right manner, and you'll be able to help each other. And Pastor Mashudu spoke about love, unconditional love, where you talk about the issue to say, no, I understand you, and things like that. And if you are empathetic, then it will be easier for you to deal with the person.
Okay, no, that's fine. I wanted to make a follow-up there, but let me hear the other two guys. Gentlemen, just answer any one of the two questions. Catherine has answered the one of a family member who is prone to argumentative. Each time, even you are discussing a simple thing, they heat up and the whole thing collapses and what have you. And she's saying it's important to kind of understand where the person is coming from, how they were raised up, and how communication was like in their life. And maybe this is what they've dragged in a new relationship and what have you. What answers do you also have on is it
on the first question? I was going to say that expression of anger.
Yes.
Most of the time, it doesn't help the argument to go forward. So it is always important that people hold up their anger. I always say to be angry. So it's almost like people say, you press my buttons, but we need to make sure that people don't press our buttons. And somebody says, if you want in order to control that, you must do 3 things. Whenever you find yourself in a heated situation, because many people reacted, and in their reaction, they ended up having killed someone. So if they can pause, think, and act, give yourself a little time to think about it. So let's say you find your spouse in a compromising position with somebody infidelity. Pause, think about it. If you had a gun and shoot them, you're probably going to do 25 years to life in prison, and your children will end up in foster care, and you are probably going to end up being somebody's girlfriend in prison. Pause, think, and after you've thought, then act. So it is important that people control their anger in such situation, because we cannot use anger to push the debate or the argument forward.
I don't know. I may want to have to agree and disagree with that view. When we were preparing for this particular what do you call it, interview that we are doing right now, I came across some psychologists who are saying, look, in an argument, in a fight, if an argument becomes hot, you really need to appreciate that anger is normal, and it must be considered as normal. And more especially if you have made some people, if you have stepped on their buttons, like Mashudu is saying, you need to allow people to be angry and to express their unhappiness. But what could be what you may need to be extremely careful about is how you express that anger. Are you going to beat up people? Are you going to abuse people? Are you going to shower ultimatums? Are you going to threaten the relationship itself? But these guys were saying you can't rule out the element of anger in a hot argument, especially depending on the situation or what has actually happened. I don't know, Mapumulo, could you help us? Now I want to take you guys to sum it up.
We are fallen human beings. Anger is part and parcel of the journey.
Yes.
And we must accept that. We must not treat or think of ourselves as angelic. We are not. And I may not be talking, for everybody, of course, because maybe some people have arrived. I have not arrived. And
yes.
So that's why the Bible says, I think it's Ephesians 4:26, and says,
yes.
Be angry, but do not sin.
I like that. Yes.
Yes. So in other words, because of our nature, the Bible knows that these are some of the inherited tendencies that human beings have. But we must not be irresponsible in expressing our anger. And it's important to because what's the purpose of anger? The purpose of anger is to offload whatever that was there. So take it out, but be responsible in your taking it out, so that you don't destroy the very thing that you already have. So I think for me that it's very important.
Okay, no, that's fine. Catherine, you'll be the last one to answer my question. Then I ask you to wrap it up. Is there room for professional intervention or outside intervention if I've tried to express my position, you expressed yours, we are in a stalemate, and we sleep over things, we come back the following day, we are still stuck in our positions, we are failing to compromise. can we still compromise on seeking outside help to deal with our argument so that we can kind of, like you said earlier on, move towards a resolution? A constructive argument must lead to a positive outcome, which is good for both parties and good for the relationship itself. Is there room for professional or outside help to assist with our nature of arguments?
I should think that there is room, Pastor. Of course, definitely the first thing that we have to look at is what the Bible advises us, which is Matthew 18, where you start the two of you. And if you are not able to come up to a good conclusion, the two of you, then of course, the Bible clearly states that you call the other person to come and assist. And I think that is the reason why we have pastors in the church, we have counselors, we have people who can assist us to come up with a good conclusion to whatever challenge that we are experiencing. And I think the most important thing that we need to do is to surrender whatever challenge that we are having to God himself, because he has uncountable solutions to whatever challenge we are experiencing.
Catherine, you speak like a pastor. That's how you speak like a pastor, really. I mean, that is very sweet. That is very sweet. I like the Matthew 18 approach that you have brought in there. Now, Pastor Mapumulo, Catherine, and Mashudu Ravengani, I really want to appreciate your time, and I want to thank your views on the subject, and I'm sure it has enlightened quite many, including myself. But before we sign up or sign off, Pastor Mapumulo, your take-home message for our viewers, if they should forget everything else, is there something that you would want them not to forget, in a nutshell?
Yes, and that is in a situation where there is an argument, you must always look at the bigger picture. You know, family setting, don't sacrifice your family on the altar of an argument. And when you if you can just remember that, I believe that you can still find grace to resolve your issues, whatever the issues may be.
Maybe, yes. No, thanks a lot. Mashudu Ravengani there. What will be your take-home message to our viewers, something that you really feel this you need to take home?
Ephesians 4:15, it says we must speak the truth in love. Amen. So many a times people are concerned on the fact that they were speaking the truth, but the truth can hurt, the truth can destroy, the truth can kill. That's why the Bible says, speak the truth in love. So whatever argument you're going to present, whatever truth you're going to say, let the people have an aftertaste of love. That Amen. This person loves me, this person cares about me, and Amen. That's what it's all about. So if you cannot speak the truth, you cannot wrap up your truth in love, don't speak that truth.
Amen. You know, it's so sweet. When I am more important than the argument, then we can discuss anything. And there could be no better way of saying it, Mashudu. That is very sweet. People are more important than our positions and our opinions and whatever. And if we love people, we'll certainly get to some understanding. It becomes easy. Thank you for that. Catherine, you are the only wife and woman in this program. That's why I need you to speak last. What would be your take-home message to our viewers?
Thank you, Pastor. I want to say that we can live at peace with people who are argumentative, but it requires self-control, and we can do that through the power of the Holy Spirit. And the Lord, through his message, can help us to act in love. Pastor Ravengani spoke about acting in love, and to understand those who have different views from those of us, or those who can hate us. If we have love for them, then we can be able to live with people who are argumentative. And the other thing, Pastor, that I want to mention is that if we can compromise if we forgive, we have the spirit of forgiveness.
Yes.
And this reminds me of the lessons that we've had during this Sabbath school study guide, the fourth quarter due education. We had a discussion one time with Dr. Shongwe and the other pastors in the conference. And I asked the question to say to them, in marriage, who should be first to ask for forgiveness? And from the lesson, the way the lesson was progressing, somebody would have thought that the person who should ask for forgiveness is the husband. But the answer that was given is that the person who is offended is the one who should go first, even to accept forgiveness or to accept the other person without even the other person asking for forgiveness. And he gave an example of the Lord Jesus himself. God, we sinned, but he sent his son to come and die for us, to come and save us.
Exactly.
So thank you very much, Pastor.
Thank you very much. Catherine, you may forget something that you said to me, and I still prize it a lot in our engagement tonight. You left me feeling like in an argument, we need to press ourselves towards the highest good. We need to be judged. Our arguments must be judged against the highest good for the relationship. Whatever battles we are having, no matter how we are doing it, what is the highest good? What is the best outcome for the relationship that comes? It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the relationship. It's about this family. It's about this organization. What will come out after we have battled with each other? To me, that is another powerful take-home message that you influence in our discussion tonight. So once again, thank you, Pastor Mapumulo. Thank you, International Evangelist Mashudu Ravengani. We want to also thank our school's administrator there, Catherine Njekwa. We are so happy that you guys could share the way you shared. And to all of you viewers out there, we are always excited when you hang around and continue to receive. This is a learning program, and we are touching lives, and lives are being transformed on a weekly basis. Every Thursday evening, something is happening here. And by the way, our vision, like you know, is to make this channel a channel of choice for human development. That's why we are here. And for you to also support us and to move forward together, would wish if you can like our Facebook channel. Let's Talk with Pastor Ngwaru. You can follow us there on that page. You can also subscribe to our Let's Talk with Pastor Ngwaru YouTube channel. Until next Thursday evening, good night and God bless you all. It was a pleasure having you around. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.